Good morning, dear students. Let's start here the second session of the chapter Tides and Ocean Currents. And I was explaining you about the causes of ocean currents. In the first session, what we have seen about the movement which takes place in the ocean, and I explained you about the sea waves. We have seen also about the distribution of land and water. Now in this session, we are going to see about the causes of ocean currents. And already I have given you one introduction. So there are the 5 main causes. What are they? The first is the planetary winds. Second is the variations in the sea water temperature. Second is the variation in the sea water salinity. Fourth is the rotation of the earth. And fifth is the configuration of the coastlines. Now before we start this, I just want to tell you about the 2 most important factors which affects everything, the whole thing, that is the whole movement is depend upon it. Now what are they? Or you can say the 2 most important factors which creates a base for the ocean currents. So the first thing is the salinity of the ocean water. The salinity of the ocean water is a very important factor. And if you see one thing, the very important thing, the salinity, it also defines the density of the water. Already I explained this in the previous session. I'm just revising it. So what happens when the salinity becomes very high? The density of water becomes very high. And one example I have given you about the Dead Sea. In one country, small country, Israel. Dead Sea is a small sea bounded by the land from every side. And the Dead Sea has the highest salinity in the world. And this is why when the people, they just jump in the water, they just floats automatically. Nobody drowns. Why? Because the density of water is very high. What is the reason why the density of water is so high? Now this salinity of the water depends upon 2 factors. The 2 important factors, what are they? The first factor is the evaporation, or you may write here in your book, rate of evaporation. Now when the evaporation is high, now what happens? Salinity increases. When the evaporation is very low and the rainfall is very high, means the fresh water is added in the ocean, that amount of water is very high, or you can say the amount of fresh water added in the sea is in a large volume. Example, if you see the example of river Amazon in Brazil. Now this river Amazon is a very big river and it drains a large volume of water in Atlantic Ocean. Same way, if you will find river Congo, that is also known as river Zaire in Central Africa, it is also gets a large amount of water and it drains again in Atlantic Ocean. Now here in the central part of Atlantic Ocean, there is a large volume of fresh water is being added by so many rivers, and these are the 2 most important rivers, that is Amazon river and the river Zaire. So this is why the salinity here is very low. Now where? Near the mouth of the river. Now why the salinity is so low? Almost the water is very fresh. Well, so these are the 2 things actually which is very important you need to know. Now let's start here the first factor, that is the planetary winds. Now let's see what are the planetary winds. The first important thing is what are the planetary winds. For this I want to show you one figure. Now there are the 3 winds which are called the trade winds, westerlies and the polar easterlies. Here it is given polar winds also. So usually it is known as polar easterlies. Now these 3 winds are called planetary winds. Now let me just show you one figure and I will explain you first of all about the planetary winds. So here this is a figure of the planetary winds. As you can find, these winds, the planetary wind, you can find here, first of all, this whole globe is divided into different pressure zones. On equator there is the equatorial low pressure belt, which is also known as doldrum. Then in the tropical region, in the both hemisphere, you will find there is a subtropical high pressure belt, which is also known as horse latitude. This you can find in the both hemisphere. Then in the temperate region, there is again a permanent low pressure belt. We call it temperate low pressure belt. Both hemisphere you can find here in the southern hemisphere also, in the northern also. And on the polar region, as you can see, the temperature is very, very cold, means it's very, very low. So it's very, very cold there, and that's why, because of the cold temperature, you can find it creates a permanent high pressure belt, and it is called polar high on both the polar region. So these are the important permanent pressure belts. Now what happens, all of you know, the wind blows from the high pressure to low pressure. So here you can find here the wind actually, it blows from horse latitude up to the doldrum in the both hemisphere. So these winds are known as trade winds. In the northern hemisphere, these winds are known as the northeast trade wind, because they blow from northeast direction, while in the southern hemisphere they blow from the southeast direction. That's why they are known as the southeast trades or southeast trade winds. Now why they are called trade winds? Because they, in the ancient time, usually when the big ships, they were usually driven by the sail. Sail means there is a big, very, very big piece of cloth, and they use it as the wind blows. So what happened, it pushed the ship, the whole ship is being pushed by these strong winds. So these big clothes actually, which usually is used to just push the ship, they are used to call as the sail. Well, so here, as these winds, they help in the trades, especially these most of the ships, they are being held by these winds, and that's why they are known as the trade winds. In the northern hemisphere, they are called northeast trades, while in the southern hemisphere they are called as the southeast trades. Then again in the polar region, if you find, there is a subtropical high pressure belt, and again in the temperate region there is a low pressure. So the wind again blows from subtropical high to the low pressure. Now these winds, as you can see, they are blowing from the southwest direction in the northern hemisphere, and in the southern hemisphere northwest direction. But usually what happens in the temperate region, because of the Coriolis effect, now these winds are deflected so much that they start blowing from west to east. So on the planet, they start blowing from west to east in the both hemisphere here, and that's why they are known as westerlies. Then again there is between the polar high and temperate low, you will find the wind starts again blowing from the high pressure belt, that is polar high, in the both hemisphere you will find. So these winds blow from polar high to the temperate low. Now usually they blows from the east direction, because of the Coriolis effect, these winds are deflected so much that usually here in the figure it has been shown here, not purely eastern direction, but on the planet they blows from east to west. So that's why they are also known as polar easterlies. Now these winds, they don't change their direction, they blow in the same direction throughout the year, and this is why they are also known as the permanent wind. And as they just covers a very, very large area of a planet, you can find here these trade winds, they just blow in the whole tropical region, all over the tropical region, all around the planet. Westerlies also in the temperate region, but all around the planet. Same thing that is about the polar easterlies also. And this is why they are also known as the planetary winds, because they actually affect the large part of the planet Earth, and that's why they are also known as the planetary winds. Now so I think all of you have understood this, because this thing you are going to study in the coming chapters. So I'm just because of without this explanation, it will be very, very difficult to just explain you about that how are these planetary winds are a very, very important factor. That's why I've explained you. Well, now let's go back again. So let us see here about the planetary winds. So I explained you. So this is how these winds, trade winds, westerlies are also known as the anti-trade winds or westerlies, and the polar winds. Now these three winds are known as the planetary winds or the permanent winds. So usually what happens when the wind usually blow over the water surface, now they creates a friction, and because of that friction created by these winds, as they are blowing continuously, the water also starts flowing in the same direction. Now this is how actually the ocean currents they originate. So these are the first reason, right? And this is why you will find most of the winds actually, you will just see the winds, the permanent winds and the ocean current. You will find the ocean currents are blowing in the same direction towards which these permanent winds are also blowing. Why? As I told you. So now next is the another important thing. Now let me just show you the same thing in the figure. Now look here. Now this is a one map, as you can find here. These are the major ocean currents of the world, and we are going to see here. And the ocean currents are shown by the red arrows and the blue arrows. Now the red arrows, that shows the hot or warm ocean currents, and the blue arrows, they show the cold ocean currents. So the ocean currents also can be categorized into two types. What are they? The warm ocean current and the cold ocean current. Now here if you will find here, now usually this is the region, this is the tropical region. Now usually I can find here, equator goes from here, this is the equator, goes from here, right? So here this region, this whole region actually is the tropical region. Now look here, in tropical region which wind blows? The wind, trade winds. So you can find here, as the winds are blowing here, right? So you can find these currents are also moving in the same direction. Trade winds, these are the direction of trade winds. Now here if you see here, the trade winds are moving in the same direction, and so the currents also are moving in the same direction. Here also, as you can find here, right? So mostly if you find here, these currents actually, they are being diverted by the winds. Now usually when there is a pure relationship between the winds and the ocean currents, now those currents are known as the drift. So let me just explain you here. First of all, this one point here, look here, it is written here. Many of the ocean currents are drifts caused by the friction between the winds and the surface water. Now usually, already I told you, the permanent winds, they affect mostly all the ocean currents, but when the ocean currents purely they blow in the just very same direction as the winds, so they are called drifts. Now let us see some of the drifts again. So if you find here, first of all, this is the Gulf Stream. Now as this Gulf Stream reaches in the region of temperate region, now this region is the region of westerlies. The wind blows from west to east, and so here you can find these winds, the Gulf Stream, it is drifted. Now the name is changed, it is known as a North Atlantic drift, and it has been drifted. Why it is blowing in this direction? Because the westerlies, they are creating a friction, and the same direction these winds are drifted. Again here also if you will find here below, again one more drift, west wind drifts, and you will find here these winds just blow straight from west to east direction. Now this is the region of the westerlies, and these are the westerlies blow in this region with a very high velocity, and so you can find here these winds also, these currents also are flowing in the same direction. That's why they are known as the west wind drift. So here some of the drift I have shown you. Now here, so wherever you will find the drift, so drift means the ocean currents which usually are flowing in the same direction towards which the wind is also blowing. There is not a very less relationship or slight relationship, but there is a purely these ocean currents are connected to the force of the wind. So this we have seen here, but all the currents are purely not just blow in the same direction as the wind, because there are so many other factors are also there. So this is only one factor I explained you, planetary winds. Now in this, one more thing I want to show you here. Let's see here the point C. The flow around the periphery of an ocean basin is called a gear. Now what is a gear? This thing you need to know. What is a gear or gyros? This gear word actually is derived from the word gyros, which means cycle. So let me just show you again in the figure. Now if you find here, in the North Atlantic Ocean, if you find these winds, this is the current, equatorial current. So it is blowing in this direction, right? And what happened now here with the this is the North America. So here it moves up, now it goes up here, again it comes back. So like this, actually this North Atlantic Ocean is a one basin. Now here these currents, they just blow and just forms a one cycle here. Now so same cycle you can find in the South Atlantic Ocean also. Now you can find here these winds, they blow from here, it goes down here, now again it comes here, and so this is making again another cycle. Same thing if you find here in the Indian Ocean also, these winds are making a one cycle here. Here also if you see here, they are making one cycle here. Same thing here in the Pacific Ocean you will find. So every ocean you will find these ocean currents, they just change their name. Maybe the cold current change into the warm current, again the warm current can change into the cold current, but the thing, they just forms a one cycle. Here one cycle. So when they forms one cycle in the ocean basin, now this North Atlantic Ocean is the one basin, so they are called gear. What they are called? They are known as gear. So this is very important thing I need to explain you. Now next, I think this all of you have understood this first point, and now let's move to the variation in the sea water temperature. Now usually what happen, already we have discussed this thing in the previous session. When the temperature of water becomes high, means the water becomes warm, so what happened to the density? Density becomes lower. Why? All of you know, the hot water, the molecules get apart and the density becomes lower. But what happens to the cold water? The molecule gets contracted, they comes very close to each other, so what happened? The density becomes higher. So what happened, as all of you know, in the polar region, usually what happened, let me just show you this map here. With this you will be, now here in the equatorial region, usually the water is warm, so you can find here, and you can see here the currents are also warm, red arrows, that they are showing the warm current. So again in the polar region, if you find, these are the blue arrows, that they are showing the cold current. It means the water is very, very cold in the polar region, right? So we will find here these currents, the Labrador currents is moving from the Arctic Ocean and towards the Atlantic Ocean. From here again you will see here, it's just moving here, joining to this current, and then again it's coming here, one branch moves to here, but again it comes down here, right? Same thing. So cold currents in this Pacific Ocean also you will find California current, this is a cold current moving towards down, means towards the equator. Warm currents, if you find here, they are moving towards cold current, means cold water. So usually what happened when the, so let's see here again in the, so usually what happened, there is a negative correlation between the temperature received and the density of water, that I told you. That means higher the temperature, lower the density of water, and the lower the temperature, higher the density of water. Okay, so this is why what happened, as I explained you already, the water from the equatorial region, they moves where? Towards the colder region, means the polar region, and the denser water that is from the polar region, it starts moving where? Towards the equatorial region. And this is how they also, the difference in the density of water, they also helps in the formation of ocean current. So I think all of you have understood. Here is some example, let us see. Now, very good example is the Gulf Stream is a warm current. Kuroshio is a warm current, and they are moving from equatorial towards the polar region. Same way, Labrador and the Kurile are the cold current, and they move from the polar areas towards equatorial region. So these are a very good example. Now next is the variation in the seawater salinity. Already we have seen, this was very important. That's why I have given you one description. And we have seen this salinity of water depends upon the two factors. Now, what are these two factors? The first factor is the rate of evaporation. I told you, when the evaporation is high, what happens? Salinity becomes high. But when the rate of evaporation is low, now what happens? So let us see here again this map. In the polar region, you will find the water has a low salinity. Why? Because temperature is very cold. So the rate of evaporation is nil. But in the equatorial region, you will find the salinity is very high. Why? Because the water is warm. Rate of evaporation is very high. So this is why you will find here in the whole equatorial region, in the tropical region, you will find mostly the salinity is very high. But in the polar region, in the Arctic Sea, and here in the Southern Ocean, that is the ocean surrounds that Antarctica, now they are very, very cold water, and salinity also is very low. So that also forms what thing? A difference between the density of water. I told you, when the salinity is high, the density of water becomes higher. When salinity is very low, so the density of water becomes very low. So that same thing, because of this, what happens here? Now here in the polar region, we have seen the two factors. First of all, the temperature, cold temperature, and low salinity. Both the things, they helps in what thing? In the formation of low density. Water has a low density, but in the polar region here, temperature is high and salinity also is high, and both thing, it makes what thing? The density of the water, that is the lower. Now here one thing can be seen, you can be confused in one thing, and that thing is here, one thing we have seen, that temperature here is the high, but the salinity we have seen is higher. Now in this, actually the whole water has not got the very high salinity. So this thing very, very important actually. Let's see here. Now this salinity is higher in some of the sea, like Mediterranean Sea has a high salinity because it is bounded by the land. Red Sea has a high salinity because it is bounded by the land. Persian Gulf is bounded by the land. It is a Gulf, that's why salinity is very high. But here in the Atlantic Ocean here and this Indian Ocean, you will find there are several rivers. They just add the fresh water. A large volume of fresh water is added, and this is why actually they also helps in the lowering down the salinity. Okay. Now if suppose, now here actually many things, if I just take you more deeper, you'll be very, very confused. So let me just make it easier for you. Okay, one by one. So the first thing what we have seen here, variation in the seawater temperature. In this, what we have seen? We have seen the difference in the density of water because of the temperature of water, and that helps in the formation of ocean current. Second thing, variation in the seawater salinity also, it helps in what thing? The difference between the density of water, already we have seen, and they also helps in what thing? formation of ocean currents. Now let's see some example. Now here we will see one example here. This is why actually you will find here there is a variation. There is a variation is marked in the salinity of the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. And because of this variation, what happened? The ocean current flows from Atlantic Ocean to the Mediterranean Sea. So why this flows? Because of the difference. So I think all of you understood. Now one thing I want to show you here. Now look here in the figure. Now if you find here, Mediterranean Sea is bounded by the land and there is a very narrow gap, very narrow, and this is known as the Strait of Gibraltar, very narrow water body joining the two water bodies, that is Mediterranean Sea and Atlantic Ocean. But still you will find the ocean currents it flow from the Atlantic Ocean to the Mediterranean Sea through this very narrow water body, that is Strait of Gibraltar. Why it is? Because of the difference in the salinity. So I think all of you have understood. So like this is the fourth factor. And the last factor, fourth factor, this is the third factor we have seen. The fourth factor is the rotation of the earth. Now what happens due to the rotation? As all of you know, already we have seen, because of the rotation a Coriolis force is created. Now what is this Coriolis force? Now let's see here. Now usually the wind here, if you find, already we have seen here, the wind blows from this subtropical high to the equatorial low pressure, and this wind is the trade winds. This wind also is a trade winds. Now usually these winds they usually blow from north to south in the northern hemisphere and south to north in the southern hemisphere. But if you find here in the southern hemisphere, they are deflected left hand side. In the northern hemisphere they are deflected right hand side. Now what is it? So already we have seen this about the Coriolis effect in the previous chapters. I told you the Coriolis force is a force due to which all the moving water bodies, they are deflected right hand side in the northern hemisphere and left hand side in the southern hemisphere. This thing you can see here, left hand side, here it is right hand side. Okay, so this is why what happens here, the trade winds in the northern hemisphere, they blow from northeast direction, and in the southern hemisphere southeast direction. And the same thing also affects the ocean currents. Ocean currents also are the moving body, and this is why, let me just show you the figure here. And if you will find here these ocean currents are moving in this direction. Why it is? Because of the Coriolis effect, deflected left hand side. Now from here they are deflected from this side, right hand side. This is right from here, if you see, this is left hand side, but from here you will see this will be a right hand side. And because of this you will find these currents here in the northern hemisphere, they are moving like this. Southern hemisphere, they are moving in this way. Same thing you can find all the currents. Now why they are deflected? Because of the Coriolis effect. So we have seen here that Coriolis effect, also rotation of the earth, that creates the Coriolis force. It also affects the the ocean currents. The last one, configuration of the coastline. So now let's see here, configuration. Now look here. Now here if you find here these ocean currents, the north equatorial current and south equatorial currents as they comes close to the North America. Now what happens? They can't go through the continent. So these the coastline of the continent, they act as a traffic police, right? Now they just guide it. So that's why you can find these currents, they move with this coastline. They enters here, it is not shown here, but it enters here in the Gulf of Mexico, and with the coastline it just takes a turn and again it goes here and from here. So all the current, if you find, what happens, they move with the coastlines, and when they don't get any place, they just deflected with the coastline. They comes here, then go up. These currents are going up here. Now here also you will find here these currents are coming here, right, going up. Right now here these currents with the coastline, they are moving. So the coastline actually, they just guide the ocean currents, and that's why they are also a one factor. So we have seen here the 5 factors which affect overall. Together they affect the ocean currents, and what are they? We have seen planetary winds, variation in the seawater temperature, variation in the seawater salinity, rotation of the earth, and configuration of the coastline. So in this session only this thing we will finish. Next session we will see the different currents of the different oceans. So all of you just read if you have not read it, just finish it, read the whole chapter.